Well, hello there, my friends. Joanna here. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Now, this technique is just so neat. When I saw someone do it online, I was like, I have to do it. And for that, I had to get UV resin, which I know a lot of you guys were asking me, why don't you use UV resin? Well, I'm not a UV resin kind of girl. I like my two-part resin. But for this technique, you have to use UV resin. Luckily, it's not very expensive. And check out what you can make with it. So let's get started by making the base of the pendant, and here I rolled out black clay on the thickest setting of the pasta machine, and very simply I'm just going to cut different shapes. Well, actually I'm using just one shape, but you can cut out different shapes, and I'm going to bake them. Now, I have used shapes, pre-baked shapes in the past for many different pendants. You can use them when you do paint pours on your pendant, or if you use your Pebby or Prism paint, that's perfect too. It's really a good idea to have a few of those on hand so you can just get right to the project instead of having to bake the pendants and wait for them to cool down. So here my pendants are already baked and nice and hard, and I am going to start applying the UV resin to them. Now, I am a cheapo, so I got the cheapest UV resin that I was able to find, and it works great. No complaints there. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cover my pendant in UV resin. Now, what you can do is, and what I try to do with my second pendant, because the first one I'm going to completely cover in UV resin, you can make fun designs with the UV resin. It's thick and it's runny, but you can still design with it. Like you will see on my second pendant, I try to do some swirls and just leave it as is. It didn't really come out the way I wanted it in the final product, but I do know exactly what I did wrong, so I'm going to fix that mistake. But I just thought it looks really nice when you have some flat areas, and then we're going to do our bubbly areas just in one part of the pendant. Now, in my third pendant, I think the idea was to create some kind of a shape, and it really didn't work out for me because I ended up covering the entire thing in UV resin. So now the resin is still nice and soft. We have not exposed it to the light. So I'm taking some soap, dish soap, down with the water, and I'm creating foam, and I decided that brush is going to be a better option to create nice foam. If I had to do it again, I would have done a better job creating firmer foam, so it's not as liquidy, and you will see exactly what I mean in just one second. But here you can see you have different kind of bubbles. You have big bubbles, you have small bubbles, and what have you. So now we're going to go ahead and grab the bubbles and apply it on the wet resin. And now you can see that my bubbles are a little bit too wet and they are runny. So on my second pendant, you will see that the design is going to be not exactly what I was looking for. It's going to be a little bit run down. But if you don't like big bubbles, then you can create foam just with small bubbles. I personally thought that big bubbles and small bubbles would be kind of fun. So that's why I did it this way. And now you're just going to put it under UV resin. I put it for 90 seconds, and I'm going to show you guys what came out of it. So there you have it. They're still wet. So you're going to have to wash it because it still has the detergent on it. But you can see the really neat texture that it created. But you also can see in this example that it was just too runny. The foam was not stiff enough, and it really did spread the UV resin. So I didn't have like a really thin path in the middle of the pendant. So now, on the top pendants, I already started adding mica powder, and that was great. However, I have used the Magicals many times. It is such an amazing product. I can't tell you enough. So basically what I'm doing is you can do it in two ways. I'm putting powder on the pendants, and then I will spray it with water, and the powders will magically change colors and really add so much character to those pendants. Or you can do it reverse. You can spray the water and then add the powders. This is my favorite way of doing it, but look at this. It is just so neat. And now that the pendant is wet, you can go back and add a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. I really love this product. If you're a paper crafter, you can make the most amazing backgrounds for your cards as well with those magicals, so check those out. So now that I saw how beautiful the magicals were working my pendants, I grabbed my other pendants that already had mica powder on it, and I'm adding my magicals to it. It's just so much fun. And the thing is that the powders that you're putting on are not always corresponding that the color that you're going to get after you add water to it. So it really is magical. You really don't know what you're gonna get till the very end. But look at those. One thing that you need to watch out for, you really need to try to control yourself, because you really don't want to stop once you start going. And you can see that the pendant that I really wanted to leave the sides completely black, I decided to cover the entire thing. And yes, wear gloves when working with magicals. They magically stain your hands. So after you're done with that, all you need to do is let them dry. And this is already a dried product. They look fabulous the way they are. I decided to use just a varnish on one, matte varnish on one, or satin actually. And then, so these are with the satin varnish. And then I added resin to some other ones. But I really love this texture. And I really think that at this point, I have to say that resin does not belong with this pendant. Here you have a closer comparison. On the left, you have the one that is covered with resin. On the right one is just a regular varnish. You know, the shine from the resin on that pendant, it just takes away from the depth. And here you have some more resin and mica powders. I was playing with a bunch of different pendants. It's really hard to stop once you start doing this technique, because you just want to go more and more and more. Now, these look just fine, but I still love my texture. What do you guys think? Do you like the textured pendant, or do you think that a smooth resin just adds anything to it? Let me know. I'm really interested to hear. I'm going for no resin on this one. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Ta-ta!